Russell Westbrook, the walking triple-double, the athletic monster with unlimited energy, and one of the most daring dressers in the NBA, Westbrook is also one of the most polarizing players in the NBA. Questions last season asked whether his hunger for every rebound and insane usage were beneficial for his team, or if he attracted from it by hogging the ball. Everyone had their opinions, but no one could doubt the insane numbers and statistics he had. Breaking the record for triple-doubles in a season and averaging a triple-double was incredible, and there's no reason to say it wasn't an MVP-worthy season. But this year, Westbrook got out to a rough start as the Oklahoma City Thunder adjusted to the arrival of both Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. But after the first 20 games of the season, Westbrook has rounded back into his MVP form of last year, gotten into the groove, and is driving the OKC Big Three to a top 4 seed in the competitive Western Conference. This video will discuss Westbrook as a player, what I think of the way he plays, and how far I think they can go this season in the competitive Western Conference. First of all, I wanted to discuss Westbrook's MVP season last year. It was one of the most incredible feats of basketball that I have ever witnessed over the course of one whole season. Russell averaged an insane 31.6 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 10.4 assists per game, and lifted the Thunder to 46 wins and the playoffs, when many expected them to struggle without the scoring and defense of Kevin Durant. I think so many people got caught up in the narrative of Harden vs Westbrook that they failed to fully realize just how spectacular the seasons they were having were. Westbrook played an entire year without anyone close to the production of a second star, and players that crowded his spacing to a high degree. Andre Roberson couldn't shoot to save himself, Domantas Sabonis was inconsistent when shooting in his rookie year, and Oladipo wasn't the Pacers version of himself last season. Plus, Steven Adams is an interior-only player, and what this resulted in was a team that couldn't provide many offensive threats outside of Russ. Teams could sag off Roberson and Steven Adams at the same time, and crowd the paint every single time Russ drove, and he was often double and triple teamed in the paint. But Westbrook would somehow find ways to finish at the rim, pull up from the free throw line, and just generally put the ball in the basket. Plus, he managed to dish out over 10 assists to a roster that wasn't exactly the best at finishing. If Westbrook had more knockdown shooters and better finishers at the rim on his squad last year, I think he would have been capable of dishing out 12 assists a game. But regardless, the Brody was simply phenomenal, and couldn't be stopped last year, and was more than deserving of his MVP award. But the playoffs showed that no matter how well one player plays, for a team to succeed in the postseason, they need more than one player to perform. Houston just collapsed onto Westbrook and made life incredibly difficult for him, and Russ somehow managed to deliver and had a positive plus-minus in 4 of the 5 games, and in 3 of the losses he was plus 11, plus 12, and plus 14. What this meant was that in the 8 to 10 minutes that Westbrook went to the bench, the OKC simply collapsed without him. They couldn't score and they couldn't defend. They were woeful. Without Westbrook last year, the Thunder would have been one of the worst teams in the league. It is as simple as that. And Sam Presti realised this, and the trades that he pulled off for Paul George and Carmelo Anthony were incredible for such a small market team. He went all in on providing talent around Westbrook and ensuring that the Thunder wouldn't become a treadmill playoff team. And Westbrook saw this and rewarded the Thunder by signing a 5-year maximum player extension that took his contract all the way through till the end of 2023. Giving the Thunder the security they needed to ensure that they can cash in future assets and focus solely on capitalizing on the rest of Russell Westbrook's prime. And after the trade, there was a wide variety of predictions for the success of this team, but I was firmly in the camp that believed they would figure it out and had them pegged as the second best team in the West. But after starting off 8-12, I and many others began to doubt the Thunder. Maybe this team just couldn't work. Maybe Russ couldn't adapt to playing with strong teammates, and maybe he was actually selfish. But the Thunder coaching staff, Russ, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony clearly went away and fine-tuned the process, and switched the focus back onto Russ and answering no to all of these questions. Watching a lot of the games in the first stretch of the season, it appeared that Russ appeared to defer a little bit too much at the start of possessions, and one of the biggest holes in Russ's offensive game is his off-ball game. He isn't exactly the best cutter off ball and isn't a knockdown shooter from 3. Simply put, Russell Westbrook is way more valuable with the ball in his hand than without it. And at the same time, both Carmelo Anthony and Paul George are much better off playing off the ball when compared to Westbrook. And that isn't to say that these guys can't play on the ball, because they can. Carmelo is one of the best isolation scorers the league has ever seen, evidenced by him passing 25,000 career points just this season, and Paul George himself isn't too shabby, and presented the biggest Eastern Conference challenge to LeBron James since the Boston Celtics Big Three era, when he was playing with the Pacers, David West, George Hill, and Roy Hibbert. But since the 8-12 stretch and the beginning of December, there has been a noticeable change in the Thunder offense. When Russ is on the court now, he initiates almost every single primary offensive play. This isn't to say that every single possession is aimed for him to get a shot up, but the Thunder will almost always start with a Westbrook pick and roll or post up and force the defense to react to his uncanny ability to beat his defender. This forces defenses to rotate, and then Westbrook can swing the ball out to his other two stars or dump it off to Adams if the defense has switched a point guard onto him. George and Anthony can then take advantage of a scrambled defense and abuse them with their own scoring prowess. Credit must be given to both other stars, who have adjusted fantastically to this change in role and are both scoring much better as a result. Melo gave around 2 shots a game up and is still scoring at the same clip as he was with those 2 bonus shots. And Paul George is scoring more in the last 28 games, shooting better from the field and from 3-point land as well. On top of this, PG is playing fantastic on and off ball defense and leads the league in deflections, all whilst grabbing 2 steals a game and harassing one of the better wing scorers on the opposition team. And the Thunder defense has been a huge reason for their surge. With the big 3, Adams and Roberson, they have been one of the best defenses in the league over this stretch, and are smothering opposition teams into bad shots and turnovers. But Robeson's injury may change all of this, as the Stars without Roberson are one of the worst defensive lineups in the league as per defensive rating. The Thunder will look desperately to rookie Terrence Ferguson to see if he can provide defense and 3-point shooting to counteract the loss of Andre, but a mid-season trade for a defensive guard may be necessary to keep their defense intact. But regardless of their 2-guard, this Thunder team will live and die by Westbrook, and how well he can continue to run this team. And it has been his return to MVP form that has truly taken this Thunder team back to their potential and led them to winning 21 of their last 29 games. In this stretch, Russ has averaged 27.7 points, 10.3 rebounds, and 9.8 assists per game, all while shooting 47% from the field, the best shooting percentage for him recently. And part of this turnaround in his play has to do with his shot selection. Russ is simply playing a lot smarter basketball. He is down to only shooting 3 3-pointers a game, down from 7 last year, and is taking a lot more shots coming off pick and rolls and in transition. And in transition is where I am happiest to see Russ attacking more. Previously this season, he would pass the ball to George and Melo a lot in transition, but this resulted in him not getting a lot of easy points in transition like he did last year. But over the last 29 games, when Russ gets the ball, he's getting downhill in transition in a straight line to the rim. His trademark blow by the whole opposition in transition to get to the rim for a layup or dunk are back. And Russ is getting quick, easy points every game by doing this. And if he keeps this up, the race for MVP could come down to him and James Harden once again. But this year, I think Harden truly has it in the bag already, absolutely dominating for the Rockets and leading them to the 2 seed in the West. But he has already come second twice in the MVP race, and who knows if the voters will snub James Harden once again. But regardless, Westbrook playing at MVP level of the past is what is truly driving the Thunder offense. The Thunder have essentially reverted their offense back to that of last year, but instead of Oladipo and Sabonis, they are now playing Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. This makes the offense much more potent when Westbrook breaks the defense down and kicks it out, and the results are showing, as the Thunder climb further and further up the Western Conference standings. I think that even without Andre Roberson, they will make waves in the playoffs. As games slow down and defenses tighten, the experience and isolation skills of their big 3 will thrive and still be able to score. Westbrook is a proven playoff performer, and with Melo and Paul George on the court when he goes to the bench, I highly doubt that the Thunder will lose 10-point leads in a minute ever again. But the bench depth is a genuine problem with the loss of Roberson, and the Thunder will be relying on Raymond Felton, Jerian Grant, Josh Hustis, and Terrence Ferguson to produce somewhat in the playoffs. A trade for a solid 2-guard and some bench pieces could be on Sam Presti's radar if he wants to put this team truly into contention status. But as always, the shadow of Golden State looms over any trade which requires teams to trade future assets to try and win now. But the Thunder have beaten the Warriors once this year, and they have the length and talent to genuinely pose a problem for the Warriors. Plus, a guy like Tyreek Evans might be perfectly acquirable for a late first-round pick. and if the Thunder got him, he could anchor their bench units by playing the lead guard role when Russ sits. On top of this, he could slot in the 2 guard when closing games, as his improved 3-point shooting would allow him to spot up alongside Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Melo. But the question will be, what is the market like for Tyreek, and are the Thunder willing to pay the price for him or somebody like him? This is one of Westbrook's best seasons, there is no doubt about it, and his supporting cast might be as good as it ever will be. But can they overcome the Warriors? Do the front office believe they can? And will Westbrook play like an MVP in the playoffs? I know how Russell Westbrook would answer these questions. Why not? Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe for new NBA videos every Sunday and Wednesday, and leave a comment below on what you think of Russell Westbrook and his season so far.